Alright, welcome. So we have 3.2. So we are going to be properties of parallel lines. So our objective is to prove theorems about parallel lines, use properties of parallel lines to find angle measures. So we're going to be using a lot of the vocab that we did in 3.1 in order to know new relationships that we have with parallel lines. Okay, so first we have this postulate right here. So this given fact right here, you're going to write postulate, same side interior angles postulate. So what is that? It says if a transversal intersects two parallel lines. So it says if, and see right here where it says L is parallel to M, that's how we write parallel, then the same side interior angles are supplementary. Okay, so it's like a conditional statement, and if then. So if they are parallel, then angle 4 and angle 5 right here, which are on the same side, 4 and 5 added together will equal 180, which means that 3 and 6 are also on the same side. Remember, interior is on the inside, exterior right here is the outside. So like the inside of the two lines and the outside of the two lines. So we have these two angles right here, 4 and 5 will add up to 180, as well as 3 and 6 will add up to 180, so they are supplementary. Okay. Alright, we got two more. We have Theorem 3.1 and Theorem 3.2, so make sure you write everything down in these boxes. So, Theorem 3.1 says alternate interior angles theorem. So, our statement is if a transversal intersects two parallel lines, then the alternate interior angles are congruent. So remember, alternate, they're on opposite sides of the transversal. Interior, they're on the inside, so 3 and 5 would be congruent. When congruent, that means that they are the same. Also, 4 and 6 would also be congruent. So one of them, if 3 is 100 degrees, then 5 would be 100 degrees. Okay? Corresponding angle theorem. So if a transversal intersects two parallel lines, then corresponding angles are congruent. So remember, if they sit at the same side of the table, remember corresponding, they're at a table right here. Can't draw a table, but table. That's a terrible table. But they're both at a table. Corresponding spots means they're at the same side of the table. So 1 and 5 would be congruent. 2 and 6 would also be congruent. 3 and 7 would be congruent, and 4 and 8 would also be congruent. Okay. And then my last one that I'm going to write down for here is my alternate exterior angles theorem. So if a transversal intersects two parallel lines, then alternate exterior angles are congruent. So exterior is the outside of the two lines. Alternate means they're on opposite sides, so 1 and 7 would be congruent. 2 and 8 would also be congruent, so that they're on the outside. So when we're looking at this right here, the two angles are either going to be the same or they're going to add up to 180. So we just got to remember which one they are. Alright, so this is going to be our problem number 1. So make sure you write, you're going to write right here, problem 1. So it says the measure of angle 3 is 55. Which angles are supplementary to angle 3? So if this is 55 right here, let's label it. How do you know? Okay, so 3 right here, same side interior angles are supplementary. So I take, if I wanted to figure out what the angle was, they add up to 180, so I subtract it from 55, and that's going to give me 125. So angle 8 is going to be 125. Okay. Now I'm trying to see are there any other angles that are supplementary with it. Well, if I'm looking here, 2 and 3 make a linear pair. So linear pairs also add up to 180 degrees. So this has to also be 125. And if I'm looking at this, 4 and 3 also make a linear pair. They make a straight line. So this also has to be 125. And then if we're looking right here, we have 6 and 8 would be the same. So if 6 is going to be 125, then when I add it together with angle 3, then they would be 180, which means they are supplementary. Okay. Alright, so our problem number 2 right here, problem number 2. So we're going to write problem number 2. Okay, it says, what are the measures of angle 3 and angle 4? Which theorem or postulates justify the answer? Alright, so we are trying to find what is angle number 3 and what is angle number 4. And we got to prove why. Okay, so you got to think about this just kind of like one big puzzle right here. So we have 105, and what would this be? They are vertical angles, so that would also be 105. So we basically have, you see how we have these lines right here? So it's saying that P and Q are parallel, and this is cut by a transversal M and a transversal L, and those two lines are also parallel. Okay. So when I'm looking at this 3, I see that 7 and 3 are corresponding, but I also see that this 105 and 3, that they are alternate interior angles. They are on the inside. So if this is 105, alternate interior angles are congruent. So angle 3 would equal 105 degrees. And what was our reason? We would say alternate interior angles. Alright, so we got that one. So we're on to my angle number 4. Angle number 4, we can see that we have the line P and the line Q right here. And when they get cut, so if I'm looking at these two, 105 and 4 are both on the inside. So they're on the inside, and so they're also on the same side, so it means that they are supplementary. So if that is 105, then this one has to be 75 degrees. So we say this is 75 degrees. And what is the reason? We would say same side interior angles. Okay, so what we can do though is we can fill out this whole picture if we wanted to. So if I was, and let's erase this to make it a little bit cleaner. Okay, so if I were going to fill out this whole picture, we know really there are only going to be two angles. It's either going to be 105 or it's going to be 75. So I just have to know the relationship. So this right here, we already said that angle 4 is going to be 75. And if I'm looking at here 105 and these two are vertical, this is also going to be 105. And I look at these right here, they are corresponding angles. This is going to be 75. 2 and 1 are vertical, that's going to be 75. You can say 1 and 8 make a linear pair, so that needs to be 105 right here. And we have these two are linear pairs, so that's going to be 75, which makes that 75. And we have this one right here. We could say it is on, we can make a linear pair. There's all different types of relations that we could have. So we say 105, that's 75, that's 105, and that's 75. So really, there's all different types. We could say like the angles are corresponding, interior angles, interior alternate angles, exterior alternate angles, same side angles. But the biggest thing is you got to know when the angles are congruent or when they are supplementary. That's the biggest thing to know. And otherwise you can fill it all out. But remember, you can always check as far as if they are right next to each other, that's a linear pair, which means the shadow of 180. And if they are vertical angles like that, they are congruent, so they should be the same. So it's always one of those ways that you should always be able to check on whether or not that they are true or not. Okay? Alright, and then my last problem right here, problem number 3. So problem number 3. So it says, which angle measures 55 and how do you know? Okay, so we're going to find all the angle measures that are 55 and then explain how do we know it. So the first one, I see 55 and 2 right here. That's going to be 55. So I would say angle number 2 equals 55. 55. And how we know that? They are vertical angles. Alright, so my next one right here, as I see 55 and 6, those are alternate interior. Remember, this is the inside, the interior, and out here would be the exterior. So they're on the inside, and there are opposite sides of the transversal, which means that they are congruent, which they are the same. So angle 6 right here would also equal 55, and they are alternate interior, and we'll just do angles, alternate interior angles. Okay, so my last one, which one would also be, I see 55 and 7, that would also be 55 degrees. So we say angle number 7 is also 55 degrees. And how do we know that they are corresponding angles? Remember, corresponding angles means they like the same seat at the table. They're at the bottom left, bottom left. So those are all the ones that would equal 55. All the other ones are going to equal 125. How do I know it's 125? Because 55 and 125 add up to 180. Because remember, these two are linear pair. They need to add up to 180, a straight line, which means that all of the other angle measures are going to add up to 180. And so as long as we know the relationships, we know that there are just two different numbers that we have, and we have to figure out whether they are congruent, whether they're the same, or whether they are supplementary and they add up to 180 degrees. Okay? Lots of vocab, but we can do it. Job, guys.